Tonight on The Wrap, Donald Trump says the war in Iran should always have been a team effort. The US president appeals to the UK, France and China to help get ships through the Strait of Hormuz, just days after insisting America didn't need assistance. In Lebanon, the dead are mourned in a city where Israel has ordered everyone to evacuate. Help with soaring bills here in the UK. The Chancellor looks to shield households from the war. Also ahead, preparations underway for Hollywood's biggest night. We'll guide you through the ones to watch at tomorrow's Oscars. Ireland win the Triple Crown with an entertaining win over Scotland. They require a favour now from England to win the Six Nations. We discuss the day's biggest stories with the former head of Channel 4 News, Dorothy Byrne, and the Daily Mail's defence editor, Mark Nichol. Plus, a first look at the front pages of tomorrow's newspapers, with the Daily Express reporting a spike in migrants applying to be UK citizens. Good evening. Welcome to Dorothy and Mark. Well, less than a week has passed since Donald Trump insisted America didn't need Britain's help in the Middle East, accusing Sir Keir Starmer of seeking to join a war that the US had already won. But tonight, the US president is appealing for help from allies, including the UK and even China, to help break the Iranian blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. Tehran has effectively shut the shipping lane, a key artery for the world's oil, driving up prices across the globe. Well, Dorothy, your thoughts on all of that?
Well, it's not a team effort. It's his war. We shouldn't have anything to do with it at all. He claimed he'd won and he didn't need us, and he's not got us, and we should stay absolutely well away from having anything to do with that. The people of Britain would be horrified if our soldiers and navy started dying in his ridiculous war.
Mark?
Well, I think our UK allies in the Gulf would expect us to make an effective contribution where we can. I think Starmer's judgment so far has been acute in not joining what appeared to have been a conflict designed to result in regime change. But I think now we are where we are. I think Britain as a military power, albeit limited, has to do what it can along with France and Germany.
Well, writing on social media tonight, the US president says America has beaten and completely decimated Iran, both militarily, economically, and in every other way. But the countries of the world that receive oil through the Hormuz Strait must take care of that passage, and we will help a lot. The US will also coordinate with those countries so that everything goes quickly, smoothly and well. This should have always been a team effort, and now it will be. It will bring the world together toward harmony, security and everlasting peace. Well, we'll be live in Westminster with Lucy McDade in a moment. But first to Washington and Sky's Mark Stone. Mark, is there a tone of desperation from the president? He's completely U-turned and now saying that he needs the help from allies.
Yeah, look, I think, to be honest, objectively, there is more very, very strange communications going on here from the president. I mean, it was under a week ago where, referencing the British, he said, thanks for now sending, I'm paraphrasing, but he effectively said, thanks for now sending a warship. It's too late, though. The war is won. And look where we are now. I mean, there is a clear sense from what the president has been saying in a couple of social media posts sent from Mar-a-Lago, where he is this weekend in Florida, that he needs help, that America needs help with this, that the asymmetric way in which Iran has responded and is resisting what the Americans and the Israelis are doing, the asymmetric way it's doing that is actually putting the Americans under a huge amount of pressure, and the whole world economy as a consequence as well. I think some European diplomats will find it somewhat breathtaking that he is now saying that it should always have been a team effort. I mean, to be clear, I think all European capitals, all European governments were not aware that President Trump and the Israelis were going to carry out the attacks that they did a week ago last weekend. They were not part of the planning. They were not part of the process. Now, that was partly because they had legal concerns about it, but it was also because President Trump plainly wanted to keep this as tight as he could. He wanted this to be an American-Israeli mission. Now he needs help from others because of the economic pain that it's causing. So that's the first point. The second point I would make is that the Iranians and the Americans now appear both to be trying to draw other countries into this. The Americans wanting to draw the likes of the UK, France. Incidentally, the French have said they are not moving their navy to the Strait of Hormuz, not yet. He's trying to draw them in, but the Iranians are as well. Have a listen to this. The Iranian foreign minister speaking to our colleagues at MS Now over the course of today and making quite an extraordinary allegation about a Gulf Arab nation.
Last night attacks were tracked by our forces, and now it is clear that they are fired from UAE, from two locations in the UAE, from in Ras Al Khaimah, and from a location very close to the city of Dubai. And it is very, dangerous that they use highly populated areas to launch, rockets against us.
The UAE authorities have said that that is not true. Nevertheless, the Iranians now appearing to claim that the United Arab Emirates government is offensively attacking, allowing America to attack from its country, which is quite a claim. As I say, the UAE authorities have denied that this is the case. A couple of brief things that I want to point out as well that President Trump has said in an interview with our colleagues at NBC. He was asked about the new supreme leader. He says, "I do not know if he is alive. I'm hearing he's not alive. And if he is, he should do something very smart for his country, and that is surrender." On the war, the length of the war, he says it will be over very soon, that it's 2 weeks ahead of schedule. Again, no detail on what very soon means. And then he also said that he believes Iran is ready to make a deal. Well, it doesn't look like that is the case at all from the Iranian perspective.
OK, Lucy, let's get your take now. What have we heard from the UK government in response to Donald Trump's call for help?
Well, the Ministry of Defence is remaining, I would say, pretty tight-lipped about what its plans are. They released a statement, though, earlier this afternoon, and in it, officials say, as we've said previously, we are currently discussing with our allies and partners a range of options to ensure the security of shipping in the region. And really, that is almost word for word what the Defence Secretary John Healey has been saying just this week, that he has been speaking with military planners about some potential options if we were to get involved with the defence of shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. He has, however, though, been stressing that that does not suggest there is any imminent action planned. Frankly, at the moment, it looks far too dangerous. HMS Dragon, a Type 45 destroyer, is on her way to Cyprus. It could be a potential for that to be sent to the region if we were to decide to escalate our action there. When we look at domestically, why might we need to get more involved? Well, you only need to look at the effect that this effective closure of the Strait of Hormuz is having here on energy prices, particularly the price of oil. You've got more than 1.5 million people across the country, more than two-thirds, or around two-thirds, in Northern Ireland, that rely on heating oil. They are seeing some of their orders cancelled, prices doubled. And so we do expect the Chancellor, as soon as Monday of next week, to come forward, announce some targeted crisis funding for those most vulnerable people who are relying on heating oil. But it's not just that, is it? You're seeing prices rising at the pumps. And instead of getting financially involved at this stage, what the Chancellor has done is send a very stern warning to retailers of petrol, saying you should not be profiteering from this crisis. Customers should still be offered a fair price at the pumps. So for the government, this is a multifaceted issue. It's it's not just one of security. It's not just one of trying to maintain a relationship with Donald Trump. We've seen how he's criticised Keir Starmer throughout this conflict. But this is a government that has promised to bring down the cost of living. And if this conflict continues, if we see energy prices continue to be impacted, this becomes a very challenging financial issue for the government, but a political one too.
We're going to bring Mark back in at this point. You've got something to add, Mark?
Now, all I was going to say as a final thought is that even if countries that Donald Trump has named, like France, like the UK and others, even if they agreed to be part of a mission to secure the Strait of Hormuz and to escort tankers through there, even if they agreed to that, it would still, I'm told, take weeks for that coalition to be brought together. And in those weeks, the oil price would only increase.
OK, Mark and Lucy, thank you both. Well, let's bring in Dorothy and Mark here. The likelihood of the UK getting involved in this mission to secure the Strait of Hormuz, is that a possibility, do you think?
Well, I'm not a defence expert, then neither is Donald Trump. And I would say it is not realistic. It is overwhelmingly not what the British people want. Mark here is a greater expert than I, but if you want to bring this war to a close as soon as possible, you would not contribute towards it, and you would not contribute towards encouraging Donald Trump to continue. It's in everybody's interest for it to draw to a close as soon as possible. I actually felt relieved when he said he had already won. I thought, well, will they all just go back home again? But having declared that they'd already won and that they'd destroyed 100% of their military capability, he didn't go back home again. It would be so dangerous. I cannot see, as somebody who is not a defence expert, firstly, how we would even get there, as your colleague was saying, but also these mines, all different sorts of mines, our men and women would be at risk. And we did not, as a country, our MPs did not vote to go to war, and we should not have anything to do with it.
But, Mark, there will be repercussions if Sir Keir Starmer doesn't answer Donald Trump's call for help, which is essentially what he's making today, saying that this should be a team effort, and it should have been from the start.
I'm sure there'll be more rhetoric. We don't even have a minesweeper in the Gulf. We withdrew the minesweeper Middleton for routine maintenance towards the end of last year, leaving us without a capability in that area at a very crucial time. But even the Americans can't immediately secure the Strait, and they're having to pull a ship from the Pacific, the USS Tripoli, along, and that the US Marines that have been talked about as the first boots to the ground are also coming from that region. So it is not just us that has the capability issue here. Dragon was supposed to go to the high north because the priority, as Donald Trump has instructed European nations to be more responsible for their own security, we're doing that. But he's now telling us, can you pull out of that and can you help me into the model I've got myself into in the Middle East?
But HMS Dragon was heading to protect Akrotiri.
It is now, yes, but it wasn't supposed to. It was supposed to go to the high north as part of a NATO exercise, but it was pulled off that.
Was that be to do with Greenland? The other place we were so concerned about?
No, it's the enormous increase in Russian activity in the high north and very close to our territorial waters. The numbers of Russian ships and subsurface vessels penetrating, posing a threat to the undersea cable network. That is the UK strategic priority. And that's what we've been concentrating on. We're very limited in what we can do. So the meagre assets that we do have must be focused on what is most important for us.
And Dorothy, what are your thoughts on the fact that not only is Donald Trump asking for help from the UK and France, etc., but also China?
Well, it becomes more ludicrous every day, doesn't he? And when he says it's a team effort, well, normally when you have a team, you agreed that you were playing the same game. We weren't actually playing the same game. And then you don't slag your team members as he has done. So nothing of what he is doing makes any sense. In fact, there isn't any point almost in being a journalist who's a great defence expert, which you are, when you're dealing with somebody who's just doing and saying things randomly. You could ask someone at the bus stop what they think, and it would be as useful as asking people who have spent years analysing Western policy. So in this madness, what you have to do when you see madness is stay well away from it.
Mark, in terms of this call out to China, how is that likely to be received?
Well, China holds all the cards here. China is close relation with Iran, and that interview you played with Abbas, the foreign minister, I saw a readout of that a few hours ago, and in that Abbas admitted publicly for the first time that China is providing military assistance. Now, China has a need for that strait to stay open because of its reliance on Iranian crude oil. So it's not in China's interest for the strait to be closed.
So will they help Donald Trump?
Well, I think they'll see it as helping the Iranians rather than helping Trump. But the crisis doesn't suit China any more than it suits us because of that oil reliance. So I don't think Trump, and it's embarrassing for him, obviously, I don't think he has any choice but to almost go cap in hand to the Chinese. That's
something, isn't it?
It is. This is the power politics of it. It's fascinating.
Yes,
with Russia and Chinese influence here.
It really is. Let's take a look at some other areas of this conflict, and to Lebanon now, where hundreds have been killed as fighting between Israel and Hezbollah escalates. Israel has issued more evacuation orders for the south of the country, saying it aims to establish a security zone along the border. But the Iran-backed group shows no sign of backing down. Cordelia Lynch went to the city of Tyre, where supporters remain defiant.
Mourning the dead in a city Israel has ordered everyone to evacuate. This is Tyre, a city many are refusing to leave, even as they bury their loved ones in temporary graves. Here, Hezbollah supporters are saying goodbye to men they claim were medics and social workers, not fighters.
I'm responsible for burying the dead here. We can't bury our martyrs in their villages on the front line. We are dealing with an enemy that does not distinguish between killing fighters and killing civilians.
Hezbollah, prescribed as a terror group in the UK, believes everyone is united against that common enemy, defending their decision to back Iran and fight Israel, even in a country already exhausted by conflict. Civilians are dying. Hundreds of thousands of Lebanese people have been displaced. Some are very angry that Hezbollah fired rockets into Israel. Do you hear their anger, their concerns?
Actually, the displaced are part of the resistance. Hezbollah was born from their homes. They are the fathers and mothers of those fighting on the front lines. They are the fathers and the grandparents of the next generation who will fight Israel.
Critics say they're dragging the whole country into a war they don't want and can't win. But not here, where resolve and resentment runs deep.
I won't leave. I didn't in the previous wars. I was born in war. But there was no resistance then like Hezbollah. The Israelis used to come at night, break down the door. They kidnapped my brother, my father, my sister, my uncle, and no one was allowed to say anything.
You can see the steep challenge for Israel here. It's not just a force they're fighting, it's a mindset.
I am Hezbollah, she is Hezbollah, we are all Hezbollah. Our blood is yellow, it's not red.
The IDF insists they're targeting Hezbollah's infrastructure and leadership here. Nada's home is surrounded by buildings hit by airstrikes, and still, she stays. But hundreds of thousands of others have been forced to flee. Civilians, many with no power, no shelter, and no say in what happens next. Cordelia Lynch, Sky News, Tyre in South Lebanon.
Just before we continue with Mark and Dorothy, just want to bring you some breaking news, and that is that the Bahrain and Saudi Arabian Formula One Grand Prix will not take place in April. That has been confirmed. We did report yesterday that it looked as though it was going to happen, but we're now getting the official confirmation. They're saying that's after careful evaluations due to the ongoing situation in the Middle East region. The Bahrain and Saudi Arabian Grand Prix will not take place in April. While several alternatives were considered, it was ultimately decided that no substitutions will be made in April. So that now official. So let's return to the situation in Lebanon. We saw our report there. More than 800,000 people have been displaced in this short period of time, and 700 have been killed.
That's right. It's a very high death toll, and it's only going to get higher. And you sense that Israel is exploiting the situation for its own ends in Lebanon. And it's deeply regrettable. And one of the reasons we may send Lime Bay, a Royal Fleet Auxiliary ship, is because it may be necessary for the UK to run a civilian evacuation operation with a Lime Bay or another ship running a sort of shuttle effectively between Lebanon and Cyprus.
We've had UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres delivering a speech from Beirut today, in which he says that, you know, it's a sovereign country and the war simply has to end.
It's absolutely disgraceful. 800,000 people displaced. And the figure I saw for the number dead was more than 800. And as you rightly say, they are exploiting the situation. And we should be careful not to be so distracted by talking about Iran, not to really care about these people. And we should be condemning the Israelis for doing this, especially as the Lebanese government itself is, as far as I understand it, condemnatory of Hezbollah. And these dreadful Hezbollah people that we just heard from, they should not be used as the excuse to hold to destroy so many people's lives. And we should also not forget what's happening in the West Bank, which similarly the Israelis are at the moment thinking that they can do whatever they want. And this month, I think already this month, about 100 people have been killed in Gaza. So we shouldn't forget Gaza as well. And this is a war that suits Israel. I'm not even sure it really suits Donald Trump. He's got himself into it. But there is somebody it suits, Netanyahu, a man facing a criminal trial that he's now trying to get out of on the basis that he's gone to war.
Mark, do you think that the world is distracted and all the attention is now focused on Iran, that you know, things are going on in Lebanon and West Bank, as you say, that don't get the attention that they deserve because we are focused on Iran? Well,
they're very much interconnected. Donald Trump said early, within the first couple of days of the conflict starting, that he was doing what previous American presidents should have done. The reason they didn't do it, they were pitched the same script by Netanyahu and declined because they realised, as much as one might want to reduce the threat to the region posed by Iran, containment is the better option. And only last summer you had Operation Midnight Hammer, which is very effective in reducing the enrichment capability in several sites.
Supposed to have decimated
Indeed,
the capability,
if you believe the Trump rhetoric.
As we heard from Donald Trump.
It was as if it was nothing now. So the beneficiary is not the United States by any means. As an American commentator put it, Trump has his hand in the wood chipper, and he's got to get it out because there's no advantage for America in this whatsoever.
He does seem to be looking for an off-ramp, doesn't he? He does seem to want to bring this to a conclusion, but obviously it's very embarrassing now that he's having to say, we need your help.
Does he suffer embarrassment?
It's completely against his nature.
Yeah, you know, what he does is he just makes something up. I did actually think very recently, would it have been better if we had all agreed to give him the Nobel Peace Prize, which would, of course, have been ludicrous. But then if he'd had the Nobel Peace Prize, maybe he wouldn't have done this. It's like dealing with a small boy. I used to teach small boys, and he's like one of them and needs to be sent to detention.
For a very long time.
But behind the scenes, British military planners, British diplomats, British ministers have a sense of bewilderment about how the Americans have failed to anticipate the consequences of their actions. And they only look at this through a military prism. So every press conference that Pete Hegseth leads, he talks about how they've decimated Iran's military capability. Well, that's not the central issue. And that they are completely wrong-footed that the Iranians decided to attack Gulf states. When Trump has mentioned that in passing, they've called it a mistake. They've said how surprised they were. But it was if you were the Iranians, it's what you would do. Also, you would close the Strait of Hormuz,
of course. Which they didn't seem to see that coming either.
No, they don't have the assets in place to combat that.
Well, here in the UK, the Chancellor is expected to announce plans to help shield households from energy bills soaring as a result of the war. It's understood the support from Rachel Reeves will target those who aren't covered by the energy price cap. We heard from a woman who relies on oil for heating and since the war started, had her order cancelled and the price then pushed up.
So what was an original order at £310 for 500 litres had suddenly become £770 for 500 litres. It's difficult to find that amount of money. I think it was the same during the energy crisis in 2024, the fact that we were hammered with price increases without any support, whereas gas customers get that support. They've got a cap.
Well, the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, says that help could come as soon as Monday, but this is for people not covered by the energy price cap and primarily for oil users, as we saw in that piece.
Yes, she said that she'd managed to find the money. Let's not dupe ourselves here. This is our money. This is my money. And I think we'd be fooling ourselves to think that just by helping these people, having a short-term price cap, we are not going to end up as a country suffering very badly. And I do think we need to look at some of the other things that we're spending money on. I was thinking about this £15 billion warm home plan. Can we really afford that? Especially as the last warm home plan that we had was, I think, described by the NAO as a catastrophic fiasco. So I think if this war doesn't stop, we are really facing very serious economic problems, and a bit of helping you out here and there is neither here nor there, really.
Mark, do you agree, or do you think that the Chancellor is at least showing willing by stepping in to help those as early as Monday?
Yeah, I mean, she has to do what she can as quickly as she can. I think we cling to the hope that this is a short-term crisis. There are checks and balances, like the oil price, like the global markets, and further down the track in 2026, the US midterm elections. Trump has to get out of this months ahead of that. Or the Republicans are going to be wiped out.
You set his deadline for him there, I think.
I think so, and thank heaven for the midterm election.
Yeah, coming up soon. OK, we're going to take a break. Coming up, we'll take a first look at what's making the front pages of tomorrow's newspapers. Do stay with us if you can.
The best thing about being a Sky News journalist?
I'm going to take you behind the scenes here for Election Night Live. They have gone up and up.
Being a Sky News journalist.
Ed Conway, Sky News, is anyone going to talk to us? Mortgage rates did go up very sharply during your time in office. Here it is.
First off, just the scale of what we're looking at.
Our data shows it's been happening. Question is, why it hasn't been stopped.
Time now to see what's making the front pages of tomorrow's newspapers. Well, the Express leads with new government figures showing a record number of migrants applied for British citizenship in 2025. The Observer reports on the latest developments in the Iran war, including the Energy Secretary's plans to combat fossil fuel supply problems. The Mirror also focuses on Ed Miliband and his pledge to keep petrol prices down. The Star features an interview with Jet from the original Gladiators cast about her experience of being stalked. And The People has a story about Prince Harry. His spokesperson has criticised a new book, and that Sky News has contacted the publisher Bonnier Books for comment. Buckingham Palace declined to comment on behalf of the King and Queen. There was no immediate comment from representatives of the Prince and Princess of Wales. The Sun on Sunday reports on the death of London's burning actor and convicted paedophile John Alford. OK, Dorothy and Mark, shall we start with the Mail? We're going to go inside pages 8 and 9. And the headline there, now Trump tells PM do send ships to the Gulf. This is after previously saying, we don't need you, the war's almost over, thank you very much, but not standing up for us.
Well,
we needed you to.
He did actually say that he'd already won.
Yes.
And usually if someone's already won, I don't help them. But what I think is interesting here, there's a smaller story here. You know, do send ships. What ships would we send? How many ships do we have? And I think a lot of people have been really shocked to see just how small our Navy is. And I think the smallest it's been for something like 100 years.
But we've known this for some time.
I know, but it's really brought home to us. And one of the things that I don't understand, perhaps Mark understands it, is so much of the fleet seems to be in need of repair. And the repairs take so long. It's like you've got a really bad builder in your house who keeps repairing it. And the story that really catches my eye in the Mail is the one that says that a reason we can't send Dragon is that its sister ship, I don't know why they're always women ships, can't operate in warm water. I don't know if this is true, but they apparently stop, the turbines don't work properly. Now, even you're looking a bit quizzical about this story. But it's really bringing it home. You know, I've been a sort of liberal lefty all my life, but I have been saying for several years now, hang on a minute, we need to spend more on defence. And this, if the result of all this, if one of them is to really bring that home to all politicians and to make the British public accept it, then that is something that has come out of it.
Mark, do you think we didn't get that message beforehand, that we simply aren't really capable of defending ourselves adequately?
Well, the Navy isn't configured to respond to a crisis in the Middle East, no. What limited Navy we have at the moment, as I said previously, the priority is to stop Russia in the North Sea. There are a lot of ships in construction. It's rather like the army. They're building a lot of armoured vehicles. There's a Challenger 3 tank. We're told that by 2030 we'll be in great nick. But as was pointed out when the ministers came before the House of Commons Defence Select Committee, that let's hope that, we just thought it would be Russia, but let's hope Russia allows us to have the 2020s off, because that's essentially where we are at the moment. We are down to the bare bones until the end of the decade. But there is a lot coming down the pipe.
in 2030.
Yeah, I know.
Lots of things are happening between now and
right now, 2030 seems a long way away.
To another story also in the Mail, Iran's most wanted. This is page 11, $10 million bounty on the heads of Mullah's henchmen. And we heard Pete Hegseth advertise this bounty a couple of days ago for any information leading to their capture or the sites of their whereabouts. But also Pete Hegseth had said that the new supreme leader had been maimed and disfigured, and really that, you know, that we'd struck at the heart of Iran, but that hasn't been confirmed.
Well, can we believe anything that man says? Also, wasn't I told that they'd taken out all their leadership, and now they're offering me $10 million to take out their leadership? And they appear to have prepared for this and have a lot of leaders. So we can kill those leaders, and then there'll be more leaders, because they don't seem to have understood how the evil regime, which we all agree it is controlled through these revolutionary guards who are placed in every area to terrorize the population. So the idea that just taking out one top man, 10 top men, 50 top men is the solution to winning in Iran, I think we can all see it's an irrelevant idea.
Mark, the objectives, as we were discussing, have changed, evolved. It started off being regime change. We don't seem to be hearing very much about that now. No,
and of course regime change was the reason why we didn't take part, because it's fundamentally illegal under international law that you set off on that footing. It doesn't matter how many IRGC major generals they eliminate, it will regenerate internally. There is no alternative regime. What sign has there been of... Trump talked about enabling the Iranian people to sort of, you know, inherit their legacy. This was their moment. This is the help. Well, the help's killed more than 2,000 people already. There does not appear to be any internal discord within Iran that would lead to a change of a regime. Similarly, they haven't been able to persuade the Peshmerga and the Kurds in the north to join the fight either, because they just anticipate being sold out.
At one point, Donald Trump was talking about having talks with the regime to essentially appoint a new leader, but now we're hearing that he's completely dissatisfied with the new supreme leader. But there were no suggestions as to who he would be replaced by.
Well, it is like a child analysing how a country operates. And did he think it was just going to be like Venezuela, where in Venezuela, take one man away, and guess what? Put his deputy in. And what we are hearing now from Venezuela is of people disappearing off the street and oppression by the regime. That regime didn't change. So it's irrelevant who you replace, because the regime will be there.
OK, we're going to leave that there. It's all been quite heavy, hasn't it? We're going to change gear and go to something a little lighter now, to the US. And Hollywood is preparing for its biggest night of the year, with the Oscars taking place tomorrow. So who are this year's favourites? Our entertainment correspondent Katie Spencer is in Los Angeles. Who are the favourites, Katie?
Look, it's quite exciting this year. Not long to go. We're approaching the time of the ceremony itself, taking place this time tomorrow. But it really does. Some years you have years where everything, the winners seem to be set in stone. Things like the Oppenheimer year, which we knew from the very beginning it was going to clean up. This year, it certainly does feel like it's quite an unpredictable race, which makes it a lot more exciting, certainly for us journalists, because there might be a few more surprises during the ceremony itself. Should we start by talking about One Battle, though. I think we started this award season assuming that Paul Thomas Anderson's film might be the film that ends up taking away the most wins tomorrow. I'm not so sure now, you know. I think hopefully this will be the film that gets him his very first Oscar for direction. It's an absolute travesty that, given he is one of the finest filmmakers working today, he's never won an Oscar. So hopefully at least he should win the direction. I think a lot of people are predicting that Sean Penn, who is terrific in One Battle as Lockjaw, this unhinged military man, I think people are assuming that he will win Best Supporting Actor. Will he turn up? That's the question. He hasn't turned up to a lot of these award ceremonies, but he is a local, of course. He wouldn't have to travel far, and if he does, he's probably the one that is likely to cause a bit of chaos during the ceremony. We know he's previously spoken about the fact that he doesn't really care about awards, is willing to melt down his Oscars, so if he wins, there's a little bit of chaos that we could get by him coming on stage. But look, there's been this huge groundswell of support within recent weeks, though, for the film Sinners, Ryan Coogler's gothic vampire drama. It's really impossible to define. It crosses lots of different genres. It's a great watch. It's very different to a lot of the normal sort of Oscar offerings. It's dominating nominations this weekend, leading the way. It's made history with its 16 nominations. I think the mood music certainly seems to be moving more towards the Best Actor going to Michael B. Jordan, but that, of course, would mean, though, that Timothée Chalamet, who at the start of this award season we were all predicting would win Best Actor, wouldn't for Marty Supreme. And you have to think he spent years learning how to play table tennis for that film, so it'll be really interesting to see who wins out of that battle, because Michael B. Jordan, of course, did twice the amount of work, played two characters in Sinners, and yeah, look, both put in a terrific amount of work. The one award that certainly seems to be locked in is Jessie Buckley for Hamnet. It's an extraordinary performance that she gives in this film as a grieving mother, the widow of who's lost her child, the wife of Shakespeare in that film. And if she wins, she will be the first Irish actress to win Best Actress, so cause for celebration. There's a lot of unknowns, though, a lot of things that we are quite excited about. Will Barbara Streisand turn up and sing? There's lots of rumours that she may be here in town to pay tribute to Robert Redford, who was a co-star in The Way We Were. That will, of course, be a very moving tribute if she is singing on stage. Look, it's an exciting time for this city. The sun's out. We're staying calm because calm is the theme of the weekend. On stage, they're hoping to create a calm mood for everyone, given the chaos that's going on in the world. And Lord knows, we need a bit of a break, don't we, from it all?
Indeed. Very, very easy to stay calm in the sunshine, Katie. Thank you very much for that. So, you guys, are you film buffs? What are you predicting?
Well, I want to see how much Jessie Buckley cries. Jessie Buckley seems, no offence meant to her, but like I assume when she goes to the supermarket, she cries. She just cries all the time. And I think she could be the biggest crier ever when she definitely wins. I am a big fan of Sinners. I just think it was a really interesting film. I hadn't expected to like it. It was totally deranged. But I hope it wins a lot. And I expect there are a lot of terrible things happening in the world, and actors like to lecture us all on politics. So I expect a few lectures on what we should all think.
Yes, it wouldn't be a complete Oscar ceremony without a little bit of politics thrown in, would it, Mark?
No, it wouldn't, no. I hope you're not expecting me to offer too much on. I haven't seen any of them, but I like Timothée Chalamet.
What did you think of One Battle after Another? Did you think it was militarily realistic?
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it.
Oh, dear.
Hasn't seen any of them. I've only seen one, just to pull you out of the hole. Yeah. I've only seen one, and that is Sinners. And I didn't really know what I was going to see when I went to the cinema, and I sat down. The first minute, I thought, oh, my goodness, because I hate horrors. It's my idea of hell. But I actually wasn't terrified by it because it was so interesting that you weren't scared out of your skin.
It's not real. I don't go to horror films.
No, I definitely
but it's stylised horror, and the music is so fabulous, and he's so fabulous, and there are two of them, just to give away the plot.
Michael B. Jordan twice.
Twins. But I'm not telling you anything else that happens.
No, yeah. I see films with my children.
Oh, OK,
They're going to see Hoppers tomorrow.
OK.
So I can talk about Hoppers.
Wholesome.
That's it.
Nice and wholesome. Thank you both for the minute. Coming up, France have won the Six Nations after late drama in Paris against England. Your sport is on the way.
The cameras are poised here, there, everywhere.
The day those present would never forget.
First question, Sky News.
Do you hate the thought of losing to him?
I hate the thought of losing to anyone.
Historic day here today.
They are pushing forward.
They dashed to the water.
Wait, what country are you
from? The UK.
Why don't you go back to your country?
Huge questions to be grappled with.
That is totally unprecedented.
Been quite some day.
We start with breaking news.
Westminster. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning.
Nice to see you. How are you feeling?
Looking forward to getting into the parliamentary chamber.
Are you any further forward to making a decision?
I'm not. No, it's an important day today.
All of the claims were in line with my parliamentary duties, so I'm making that clear to you, Connor.
He was a Scot through and through.
He was a very good politician.
Alex Salmond was controversial, he was a disruptor, but above all, he was respected.
Will you resign if you lose this week?
Again, I'm not planning to, of course, lose the vote of no confidence. I'm planning to win that vote of no confidence.
His face said it all.
My intention to stand down as party leader.
This is now a storm with deadly consequences. How are they feeling?
They're a bit scared at the minute.
We've been told to evacuate.
How are you feeling?
Devastated.
Hundreds of homes were wiped out by flooding. I'm Connor Gillis, Sky's Scotland correspondent.
It was probably the darkest time in my life.
Scott is 5 years sober after a cocaine addiction left him close to death.
Scotland has a shameful record. Worse than England, the worst in Europe.
Why not just say you've failed? Because then you might get more respect from families who've lost loved ones.
This is where one of the UK's most prolific rapists thought he'd got away with murder.
Sky News can reveal that former sex workers had told police he was sexually violent.
My Emma.
Free wherever you get your news.
It's over, isn't it?
The Americans say he is Rossi, a fraudster.
This has been one of the most bizarre cases ever heard in a courtroom in this country.
A dangerous murderer.
Do you think you'll ever be able to forgive Andrew Ennis after this?
She said she can forgive him, but as long as he's behind bars.
By doing the right thing, it's destroyed your life.
They terrorised me. They intimidated me.
I'm so grateful.
Sky News, the full story first.
What's the best thing about being a Sky News presenter?
We've done the work and the reading, so you don't have to.
Being a Sky News presenter.
Hello and welcome. Westminster, the heart of British politics.
I'm so sorry about what happened to you.
So what on earth is going on?
It's not true.
Can I tell you what I think is really unusual? Mornings with Richard and Frost. Let's crack on. Let's get started.
What's the best thing about being a Sky News journalist?
Who's funnier?
Being a Sky News journalist.
A special edition of The World with me, Yalda Hakim.
Pakistan has the right to respond.
You're like, what?
A historic day here today.
Congratulations, this is a huge moment.
But what happens now?
Time now to get all your very latest sports news with Rob.
Adding a continental touch to Arsenal's never say die style is what Wenger is promising.
Quand je suis venu, je veux dire, il y a tout ce qu'il faut pour être un grand club. Je veux dire, ils ont un public qui est fabuleux. Je veux dire, il y a des terrains où on peut s'entraîner. Il y a un entourage qui est très bien. Je veux dire, ils ont des très bonnes structures.
I think it was a big chance for Arsenal to take this player because I believe he has a great future.
He knew he had to get those kind of players that will know his philosophy and will help him implement that philosophy on the pitch at Arsenal. If you want to change the mentality at Arsenal, you don't go and sign English players.
It didn't have as big an effect as when we signed Dennis Bergkamp. That was like a massive statement. When Patrick signed, these are players that nobody's really heard of.
I was happy to have the chance to sign him, and
And overall, Patrick Vieira landed at Arsenal, but nobody knew that I was the manager. So at the start, he didn't play.
So actually Remy Gard came in at the same time. Remy was an accomplished player, but also I think to give Patrick comfort that he wasn't alone, he wasn't the only French guy in the dressing room. So, and I think that worked well. Remy was a little bit more of a mature player than Patrick.
Remy was great for Patrick because Remy spoke English, Remy was so smart, loved everything about London, would go to museums, go and take Patrick along with him. And Patrick was so young, all of this was new to him.
They were not speaking well English at the start and they had to adapt. Remy Gard is a very intelligent person. Patrick Vieira will know better than I do, but it was certainly important to him.
I arrived at Arsenal before Arsene, so it was quite really challenging to understand the language and to really understand the culture. It was really good that Remy Gard was with me at the time because he was a really, really big help for me. It was challenging at the beginning.
He couldn't speak English and it was up to me and my best A-level French to make sure he settled down. After a couple of weeks I went down to the dressing room. I said, Patrick, est-ce que tu peux dire quelque chose en anglais? Can you speak something in English? He said, oui, Monsieur Dean. Yes, Mr. Dean. I said, qu'est-ce que tu peux dire? What can you say? He looked at me and he said, Tottenham are magnifique, Patrick, fantastic, Patrick. I said, qui te dit ça? Who told you that? He said, Ray Parler. So Ray was giving him English lessons.
Ray Parler is the last who could help for the language barrier.
If Ray's got into Patrick's head to try and teach him English, he was set up by us lot, you know, because we were like, yeah, go on, Ray, tell him some stuff. I remember him talking about beans on toast, and Patrick was like, what do you mean? Beans on toast? You've hit the beans on toast in the post.
I have to be honest, the English players make it really easy for me as well. They've been helping me to find a way to express myself.
Arsene Wenger took the players to a health farm this week, but not exactly for a break. But he won't find the players complaining.
The training's very refreshing, very varied, it's different all the time. It's nice to have a change, really.
I want dynamic football made of movement. I think it needs a slow change, and every manager, I think, needs time to work. At the time, English players were dominant and foreign players. You needed to adapt. It was a risk, yes, when we bought foreign players at the time. London had a huge advantage. It's easier to recruit people in London with international life, but it was a risk on the sporting side.
It was a completely different culture. I left.
Let's take a look at the weather for you now.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors Sky News Weather.
Well, high pressure will bring warmer, more settled conditions for the middle of next week. Before then, it's colder with showers or longer spells of rain. Much of England and Wales will have a fine start with a patchy frost, especially in the east. Elsewhere, it'll be rather cloudy and windy with outbreaks of rain. Patchy rain will spread across many areas through the morning, but southeast England will stay dry despite increasing cloud. Sunshine and blustery showers will follow to Scotland, Ireland and Northern Ireland, with hail and hill snow possible. Temperatures will be up a little on today, but the brisk wind will make it feel colder. Coastal gales will affect the northwest. Patchy rain will clear to southeast England through the afternoon, leaving widespread showers elsewhere, some heavy. Hail and the odd rumble of thunder will be a risk, with snow on northern hills. Monday will bring outbreaks of rain, prolonged in the west, but the northeast looks brighter and more showery.
All Clear Travel Insurance proudly sponsors Sky News Weather.
Much more to come, including Donald Trump appealing to the UK and others for help in getting ships through the Strait of Hormuz, just days after insisting America didn't need assistance with the war.
The best thing about being a Sky News journalist?
They call him the king of the jungle.
Being a Sky News journalist.
Yusra Al-Baghir has this report.
And this is what's left of it.
As a woman of colour, how did the Harris campaign speak to you?
People risk their lives to speak to us for this report.
Mr. Zuma, Sky News.
We're trying to see as much as we can.
The best thing about being a Sky News journalist?
I'm going to take you behind the scenes here for Election Night Live.
They have gone up and up.
Being a Sky News journalist.
Ed Conway, Sky News, is anyone going to talk to us? Mortgage rates did go up very sharply during your time in office. Here it is.
First off, just the scale of what we're looking at.
Our data shows it's been happening. Question is why it hasn't been stopped.
Tonight on The Wrap, Donald Trump says the war in Iran should always have been a team effort. The US president appeals to the UK, France and China to help get ships through the Strait of Hormuz, just days after insisting America didn't need any assistance. As the US strikes at Iran's main energy source, Tehran threatens to escalate attacks in the region. Help with soaring bills here in the UK. The chancellor looks to shield households from the war. In the sport, France win the Six Nations after a sensational win over England. We discuss the day's biggest stories with the former head of Channel 4 News, Dorothy Byrne, and the Daily Mail's defence editor, Mark Nicol. Plus, the first look at the front pages of tomorrow's newspapers, with the Daily Express reporting a spike in migrants applying to be UK citizens. Good evening. Welcome to Dorothy and Mark once again. Well, less than a week has passed since Donald Trump insisted America didn't need Britain's help in the Middle East, accusing Sir Keir Starmer of seeking to join a war that the US had already won. But tonight, the US president is appealing for help from allies, including the UK and even China, to help break the Iranian blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. Tehran has effectively shut the shipping lane, a key artery for the world's oil, driving up prices across the globe. Many describing this moment as an apocalypse, Mark.
Yes, or a third world by proxy. Third world war by proxy is another phrase that's been used. The very biggest players in global conflict are involved in this. It could scarcely be more serious.
Dorothy?
Yes, well, we know that Russia and China are helping Iran, and we have... What we don't know is Donald Trump deranged or just ludicrous, selfish and silly, but it is very worrying indeed. And one of the things that's extraordinary is, where are the people round him? Is there nobody of any sense in serious positions in the US to actually prevent this, or does he just ignore them? And he's got that ridiculous Hegseth, who one assumes he will dump at some point and sort of blame it all on him in some way and get out of it. And what we have to hope is that if Trump wants to say he's won, let him say he has won. So you can go home now because you won.
Should we take a look at what he has been saying on Truth Social? So, writing on his social media, the US president says America has beaten and completely decimated Iran, both militarily, economically and in every other way. But the countries of the world that receive oil through the Hormuz Strait must take care of that passage, and we will help a lot. The US will also coordinate with those countries so that everything goes quickly, smoothly and well. This should have always been a team effort, and now it will be. It will bring the world together toward harmony, security and everlasting peace. Well, more now from Washington with our US correspondent Mark Stone.
Objectively, there is more very, very strange communications going on here from the president. I mean, it was under a week ago where, referencing the British, he said, thanks for now sending, I'm paraphrasing, but he effectively said, thanks for now sending a warship. It's too late, though. The war is won. And look where we are now. I mean, there is a clear sense from what the president has been saying in a couple of social media posts sent from Mar-a-Lago, where he is this weekend in Florida, that he needs help, that America needs help with this, that the asymmetric way in which Iran has responded and is resisting what the Americans and the Israelis are doing, the asymmetric way it's doing that is actually putting the Americans under a huge amount of pressure, and the whole world economy as a consequence as well. I think some European diplomats will find it somewhat breathtaking that he is now saying that it should always have been a team effort. I mean, to be clear, I think all European capitals, all European governments were not aware that President Trump and the Israelis were going to carry out the attacks that they did a week ago last weekend. They were not part of the planning. They were not part of the process. Now, that was partly because they had legal concerns about it, but it was also because President Trump plainly wanted to keep this as tight as he could. He wanted this to be an American-Israeli mission. Now he needs help from others because of the economic pain that it's causing. So that's the first point. The second point I would make is that the Iranians and the Americans now appear both to be trying to draw other countries into this. The Americans wanting to draw the likes of the UK, France. Incidentally, the French have said they are not moving their navy to the Strait of Hormuz, not yet. He's trying to draw them in, but the Iranians are as well. Have a listen to this. The Iranian foreign minister speaking to our colleagues at MS Now over the course of today, and making quite an extraordinary allegation about a Gulf Arab nation.
Last night attacks were tracked by our forces, and now it is clear that they are fired from UAE, from two locations in the UAE, in Ras Al Khaimah, and from a location very close to the city of Dubai. And it is very, dangerous that they use highly populated areas to launch, rockets against us.
The UAE authorities have said that that is not true. Nevertheless, the Iranians now appearing to claim that the United Arab Emirates government is offensively attacking, allowing America to attack from its country, which is quite a claim. As I say, the UAE authorities have denied that this is the case. A couple of brief things that I want to point out as well that President Trump has said in an interview with our colleagues at NBC. He was asked about the new supreme leader. He says, "I do not know if he is alive. I'm hearing he's not alive, and if he is, he should do something very smart for his country, and that is surrender." On the war, the length of the war, he says it will be over very soon, that it's 2 weeks ahead of schedule. Again, no detail on what very soon means. And then he also said that he believes Iran is ready to make a deal. Well, it doesn't look like that is the case at all from the Iranian perspective.
Yeah, indeed, Donald Trump suggesting that they are ready to make a deal. But we must remember that the USA was in diplomatic talks with Iran when they decided to strike.
Yes, indeed. I'm just reading here some notes that possibly the Americans missed their moment and that the opportunity to enact regime change was when tens of thousands of Iranians were taking to the streets. But he couldn't do that then because the Venezuela operation was ongoing. And that was perhaps the time when enough people could be corralled into continuing their opposition.
Because he did say to the people of Iran, take to the streets, overthrow your leaders, we are coming to help.
Indeed.
But that help never materialised.
Not for another 2 months, no. And now, no one's on the streets.
Yeah. Do you think that's right, Dorothy? The moment was missed for this potential regime change?
I'm not sure that even at that moment, which arguably was a better moment, it would have happened because the Revolutionary Guard are so embedded in each area and are so controlling, and look how they just don't care how many people they mow down. You know, they went out during that period and just shot people dead just for demonstrating. And I'm not sure that I agree that it would have worked.
No, I don't necessarily think it would have, but it would have it would have gained popular support within Iran, and I think there would have been an element of support from allies because of the horrors that were being enacted. I think the UK and others would have felt obliged to assist in some way.
And you raise an interesting point about what do Iranians themselves feel, because they are increasingly the victims of this massive amount of attacks, and the killing of those schoolgirls, I think, would have caused outrage within the country. And of course, they will remember when the United States overthrew their elected leader and put the Shah in. Ironically, Churchill went along with that. And so when he said, "You're no Churchill," to Starmer, I don't think we'd have wanted him to be that Churchill, because we don't really agree with overthrowing regimes around the world.
And that was the original objective, according to Donald Trump. It was about regime change, wasn't it?
Correct. It was, because that's what the Israelis had been pushing for, because the Israelis regard the theocratic regime in Tehran as an existential threat, and by existential it never goes away. So there's always going to be a justification for them to take military action. But as I've said previously, previous American presidents have said no, because they've looked at it and there are too many things that can go wrong.
You mentioned before about the allies might have been more forthcoming if the timing had been around the time of the protests. Well, Donald Trump is calling for help from allies now, including the UK and, remarkably, including China. Do we think that help will be forthcoming? Will they be sending more ships to his aid to open the Strait of Hormuz?
Well, we don't have the ships. As you've pointed out before, it would take a very long time to get there. But the British people and British MPs do not want our men and women dying in Donald Trump's escapade. And Trump called it an excursion. I think in the past couple of days, he used that term, excursion. This is, we can't have anything to do with a war launched by a man who can call the mayhem he has created an excursion.
But it's gone beyond Trump's excursion now. This is now an international crisis. And the UK, as a permanent member of the United Nations Security Council, a country that has always had a high opinion of what it can achieve globally, if you remain on the sidelines now, based on an objection to the original aims of Donald Trump, then you're essentially saying that Britain is not an international player.
Well, so you're saying that we have to get involved now, regardless of what our initial response was?
I think we should do, rather than we have to. I think we should do where we can. And I think behind the scenes, we are without question calling for de-escalation on all sides. Because I was with the Defence Secretary on Thursday at the what's called Permanent Joint Headquarters, which is the UK Military Nerve Centre. And the feeling there, and Healy said it, the only person benefiting from this situation is Vladimir Putin, because of the spike in oil prices and because of the distraction away from the crisis in Ukraine.
Yeah, I mean, he has been gleeful about the fact that he shares objectives now with Donald Trump, hasn't he, Putin?
Well, clearly Putin does not really share objectives with the United States of America, and they're deluded if he thinks that if either side thinks that that's the case.
But Trump has withdrawn sanctions for a period of 30 days, which is to Putin's benefit.
A grave error that, again, we should not go along with. But if we go along with supporting this idea of sending ships to the Strait of Hormuz, we will be prolonging, we will be being part of escalating, and we will be prolonging what happened. Of course, now that various people, including some of our own people, are under attack or vulnerable, we can't pretend that there's nothing happening at all. I get that. But we've got to be very careful here not to get drawn into something which could also result in retaliation. Even on mainland Britain here, we should just not be being involved in this.
Yeah, there is a fear that it could, heighten terrorist attacks, both here and in the United States. Well, Iran has threatened to escalate the war by targeting any facility in the region with ties to the US after America bombed its main energy hub. Donald Trump says military targets on Kharg Island were obliterated, but that the oil infrastructure there was not hit. Our military analyst, Sean Bell, has been taking a closer look at the latest developments in the conflict.
So it's day 15 of the American-Israeli war in Iran. What's the latest update from events on the ground? Starting with Israel. They are continuing their attacks against Hezbollah targets in the Lebanon and also in southern Beirut. Major attacks by Iran. They've been attacking the US embassy in Baghdad. We understand that there were no casualties in that attack. But probably the most significant attack is on Kharg Island, which is a major Iranian oil facility. Where is Kharg Island and why is it important? Let's zoom closer into the region. Kharg Island is about 5 miles long. It's about 2.5 miles wide. It's situated in the northern end of the Gulf, and it's about 300 miles away from the Straits of Hormuz. Central Command has issued a whole series of videos showing some of the strikes which our Sky's data forensic teams have been analysing. The first are up at Kharg Airport. There's been 2 attacks on infrastructure there, but also 2 attacks against the main runway. Now, runways are relatively easy to attack, but they're also relatively easy to repair. The challenge, of course, is we've not seen much from the Iranian Air Force since the start of this war, so I don't think repairing that runway will be a big priority for Iran. On the western side of the island, they've been attacking the IRGC air defence complex. We understand there were 6 attacks there, 4 against the infrastructure targets, almost certainly trying to degrade or destroy Iran's ability to be able to protect the island. And finally, on the eastern side of the island, there have been attacks against the naval base. Now, it is worth pointing out that there have been over 90 targets struck over that 24-hour period. We've just taken a small segment that Sky's data and forensics have been analysing, but they have included mine storage facilities and also missile storage facilities on the island. What is interesting is that all those targets are to the north of the island. What about to the south here? There's a massive oil facility there. Why has that not attracted the attention of President Trump? Why has that not been a target? Well, 90% of Iran's oil exports flow through this island. It has the ability to offload 7 million barrels of oil a day and can currently load 10 ships. And most of that oil heads its way to China. Almost certainly, President Trump will not have wanted to exacerbate tensions with Xi Jinping of China by targeting the oil facility here. In wider news, it's also been reported that the US is deploying US Marines into the region, 5,000 of them. They'll take 2 weeks to arrive, but they do have the ability to do amphibious operations. Part of the challenge, of course, is working out where they would be deployed. One of the options is Karj Island. Maybe, but I suspect the more likely is down to the Straits of Hormuz region. That's where the major trouble spot is. The trouble is, as soon as you put boots on the ground, it is an escalation, it risks casualties increasing, and also President Trump will get his hands further in a mangle that he probably is trying to extract himself from at the moment. So in summary, the American and Israeli military action against Iran is increasing in tempo, and Iran's military capability is being degraded. But is that military action getting us any closer to the end of the war? Iran still has its military leadership in place, its political leadership in place, it still has drones, it still has proxies, and it still has a foot on the international community's throat with regard to the Straits of Hormuz and energy. All of these situations can be resolved in time, but that's time that President Trump doesn't have.
I just want to bring you a couple of news drops, some updates that have just come into us here, starting with Donald Trump telling NBC that he's hearing that Iran's new supreme leader may not be alive. Also saying that it's not clear whether Iran has dropped mines into the Strait of Hormuz. This is all from the same NBC interview, and he tells NBC that US strikes on Karj Island totally demolished most of the island, but that we may hit a few more times just for fun. That is a quote from Donald Trump. He's also saying that he isn't ready to make a deal with Iran because the terms aren't quite good enough yet. And those are the very latest lines coming out of that interview that he's given to NBC. I'm also seeing that Keir Starmer may send thousands of drones to the Middle East. That's attributed to the Telegraph newspaper. But all those lines from Donald Trump, particularly pertinent to Karj Island, which we just saw our report on there, saying that he's decimated it, essentially, but might hit a few more times for fun, Mark.
Well, whenever I express to people in the defence world a dismay at the rhetoric of Donald Trump, they insist it's performative, and you have to look beyond it. But it does become more difficult. I mean, it's deeply unsavoury and it's deeply unhelpful. It's unhelpful to him more than anything else because it prevents him from building relationships that can make these operations, that can get him out of the crisis that he's got himself into.
But is it just all performatory? And this is what he says to the public, and that's what's put out there. But behind the scenes, might there be diplomatic moves going on?
Oh, I'm not suggesting that strip the rhetoric aside and he's a serious figure. No, but there are other serious figures. The rhetoric that he applies to Iran is the same rhetoric that he's applied to every other policy area. He's just got himself into an incredibly difficult situation and it is against his very nature to be conciliatory. But he's going to have to be in order to, or otherwise he's just going to sink deeper and deeper into trouble.
What does that look like, Dorothy? Donald Trump, who's conciliatory and is going for that off-ramp?
Donald Trump, who's conciliatory. No, what we want is the Donald Trump, who declares he's going to do great things, starts doing something, and then backtracks on it all. So I think we should encourage him to say that he's won. We should maybe all start saying, you've won, Donald, well done, congratulations, you've won. So you can go back to Mar-a-Lago now and play some golf. Maybe, of course, he's already talked about what he's going to do in Cuba. That might cause a bit less mayhem, but would be most unfortunate for the people in Cuba. He's got to get out of this. And I just keep coming back to, why is there nobody around him preventing this from happening? Did we know that democracy and common sense were so fragile in the United States that one man could bring about such terrible policy changes without any break? And if you remember, Donald Trump said that the only break on his actions was his own sense of morality, which we shouldn't be relying on as being very strong. But how extraordinary. No, it's not. You're in a democracy. You're actually not the leader of a theocracy. You're in a democracy. Why is he not being stopped? And how can it be that now we're all desperately waiting for the US elections in the hope that right-wing Republicans vote him his party to defeat?
There's hopefully a roadblock before then. But the checks and balances within the US political system that are supposed to prevent America getting itself into wars they're out of date. If you recall, there's a 60-day rule. After 60 days, a president has to go to Congress in order for Congress to authorise any continuation of military activity.
But he doesn't bother with that. He didn't go to Congress before Iran.
Well, you can do a lot in 60 days.
He only has to do to at the 60-day point.
No, but what I'm saying is he didn't consult Congress before striking
No, but that's voluntary.
Iran.
It was voluntary. At 60 days, it's not voluntary. But you see, 60 days is too long now. Wars don't last 60 days anymore. No one declares any war anymore anyway. They just launch offensive operations. To be more pertinent to the current the world as it is today, it should be 6 weeks, not 60 days at the very most. Because look how much turmoil Donald Trump has been able to cause in the last 2 to 3 weeks.
I know. We've almost forgotten Venezuela, haven't we? I mean, that was momentous when it happened.
Yes.
Now it's...
And everyone, yeah.
Well, I think the people of Venezuela haven't forgotten Venezuela because they've just got the very bad deputy of the very bad president. And from what we understand about Venezuela, and it all needs to be covered a lot more, is that the awful, inefficient, corrupt regime is carrying on very much as was. People are disappearing from the streets. People are living in fear. So I'm not sure what it was he was supposed to have achieved in Venezuela, because I'm not sure that we're seeing that, other than, of course, that America got some of their oil.
Correct.
And it's funny that he keeps attacking countries that have a lot of oil. Maybe that'll help Cuba.
Perhaps Iran is not the only theocratic regime in the equation here. If you look at the pictures coming out of the White House, where they all pray with Donald Trump, that there is as much of a leaning into religion in the United States and the Republican movement.
Because the Secretary of State for War, self-styled Secretary of State for War, Pete Hegseth, did a quote from the Bible before his news conference.
It's routine, in part. They pray together.
Yeah, even Trump's reference in the quote that you gave to harmony, security and everlasting peace. Where did he get this term, everlasting peace, from? It sounds like he heard it in a hymn once when he was a little boy. And he's always talking about everlasting peace.
Yes.
But I don't think when Jesus Christ talked about peace, he quite meant going around invading other countries.
It smacks of desperation. Similarly, when Hegseth blames the mainstream media for its reporting, If your operation is going successfully, you don't need to attack the media and you don't need to lean into your religious faith.
Yeah, well, he even said they made him look ugly. Well, look in the mirror, mate. It's not that you're ugly.
Oh, now we're getting personal. Now we're getting personal,
No,
Dorothy.
it's that you're bad.
We're going to take a break, much more when we come back, including the help expected from the Chancellor to shield households from energy bills soaring as a result of the war. Do stay with us.
What's the best thing about being a Sky News presenter?
We've done the work and the reading, so you don't have to.
Being a Sky News presenter.
Hello and welcome. Westminster, the heart of British politics. I'm so sorry about what happened to you. So what on earth is going on?
It's not true.
Can I tell you what I think?
It's really unusual.
Mornings with Richard and Frost. Let's crack on. Let's get started.
What's the best thing about being a Sky News journalist?
Who's funnier?
Being a Sky News journalist.
A special edition of The World with me, Yalda Hakim.
Pakistan has the right to respond.
You're like, what?
A historic day here today.
Congratulations, this is a huge moment.
But what happens now?
The best thing about being a Sky News journalist?
They call him the king of the jungle.
Being a Sky News journalist.
Yusra Al-Baghir has this report.
And this is what's left of it. As a woman of colour, how did the Harris campaign speak to you?
People risk their lives to speak to us for this report.
Mr. Zuma, Sky News.
We're trying to see as much as we can.
You are watching The Wrap. Well, here in the UK, the Chancellor is expected to announce plans to help shield households from energy bills soaring as a result of the war. It's understood the support from Rachel Reeves will target those who aren't covered by the energy price cap. We heard from a woman who relies on oil for heating and since the war started, had her order cancelled and the price then pushed up.
So what was an original order at £310 for 500 litres had suddenly become £770 for 500 litres. It's difficult to find that amount of money. I think it was the same during the energy crisis in 2024, the fact that we were hammered with price increases without any support, whereas gas customers get that support. They've got a cap.
So, Dorothy, the Chancellor promising targeted help for the poorest households, but actually only for those that are using oil at the moment as fuel.
Yes, and particularly in Northern Ireland, you know, there are so many people use oil. Also, there is a price cap, but I think we've got to be honest with ourselves that if this war goes on, the government will not be able to protect us from the catastrophic financial consequences for every household in this country. These are very much short-term measures, which I think everybody would welcome, but if this war doesn't stop, we're facing a very serious situation.
What more could the Chancellor do, Mark? And do you think it's enough, this start?
Well, she has announced that the military costs that we are incurring will come out of the Treasury rather than MOD funds. Now, that's imperative because what's known as the RDEL budget, which is the running costs of UK defence over the financial year, there is no headroom there whatsoever. So, had Rachel Reeves not said that the Treasury will pick it up out of the sort of the magic money tree, then other programmes would have had to have been cut, and we would have been left even less protected than we are.
The former head of the Royal Navy, Admiral Lord West, he's been quoted as saying that he's amazed that the Americans didn't calculate for the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. Does that surprise you? Because that would be the obvious defence that Iran would move towards. I
think the US Navy might have done, but I don't think it factored into the political thinking because of the decapitation strategy, the idea of Venezuela Mark II.
Do you agree with that?
Well, it really makes you think, were those people in the room at some point directly with Trump, as you would have expected, saying, you do realise that if you do this, this could happen, this could happen, this could happen. Does he simply not have the people in the room he doesn't want to hear? I literally cannot guess. Do you know?
Dan Kane, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, it was reported a few weeks ago, supposedly went to Trump and said, you know, we have a capability issue here. And that led to a postponement by about a week of what then transpired. He is a voice of reason, but he is surrounded by ideologues, and they are getting swept up in a fervour, and the quieter, more considerate, the more thoughtful people are being silenced.
And it really makes you wonder how the American democratic system is working when so few voices are being listened to, so few opinions are being taken into account. It's very, very worrying.
We shall see with the opinions of the masses, though, because we know that Donald Trump's base are not happy with this warmongering, and he did promise to be the president of peace and stop the forever wars, and that is not what they're getting. Should we see what the papers are saying? Let's have a look at the front pages for you now. Well, the Express leads with new government figures showing a record number of migrants applied for British citizenship in 2025. The Observer reports on the latest developments in the Iran war, including the Energy Secretary's plans to combat fossil fuel supply problems. The Telegraph says that the Prime Minister may agree to send drones following the US President's appeal for help in the Middle East. The Mirror also focuses on Ed Miliband and his pledge to keep petrol prices down. The Star features an interview with Jet from the original Gladiators cast about her experience of being stalked. The People has a story about Prince Harry. The Sun on Sunday reports on the death of London's burning actor and convicted paedophile John Alford. Well, let's start with the Mail, pages 8 to 9. Trump wants UK to send ships to the Strait of Hormuz. We heard that plea in a social media post from the president, that he believed that allies should have been part of the team from the very beginning, and they should now join the team and help keep the Strait of Hormuz open.
Yes, as you said, a very much a change of stance by Trump, who is by nature an isolationist, but also when he does reach beyond isolationism, he believes that the United States has every capability it requires in order to conduct its operations. Venezuela wasn't a team effort, and neither was Iran ever intended to be a team effort. This was Israel and the United States, and all they wanted from the UK was our basing.
But the fact that he's now saying it's a team effort, it should have been from the start, this suggests that he's in trouble.
Indeed, it's an indication that it is not going to plan, even though they say in every press conference that it is. I mean, this notion that how does he calculate that they are 2 weeks ahead of schedule? It would suggest that before a missile was fired, that he had some idea of reaching certain points by certain weeks, and nothing works in conflict like that.
Yeah, I mean, Donald Trump saying that, you know, they're doing extremely well, the war's going very, very well, they've decimated Iran and destroyed all of their capabilities, but still we'd like some help.
Well, it's going so well that the economies around the world are in crisis. In a number of countries, they've had to shut all schools, shut universities, tell people to work from home, tell them that this war is won and that everything is going very well indeed. And also tell it to the other people who are really suffering in the Middle East, where Israel is exploiting what's going on to take action in other countries. 100 people dead in Gaza, more than 800 dead in Lebanon, 800,000 people displaced in Lebanon. God knows what horrors happening in the West Bank, because this is really Israel's war. It's a war that suits Israel. It does not suit the needs and aims of any other country, including the United States of America.
Mark, coming back to the point of Donald Trump asking for assistance, we read in the Telegraph that Sir Keir Starmer may send drones to the Gulf. Will that be the extent of the help that the UK could potentially offer?
Or can offer? Yeah, I don't think that will be part of any effort in the Strait of Hormuz. I could be completely wrong, but I think it's more likely that we offer assistance to Gulf allies who are running out of the interceptors, because by the nature of asymmetric warfare, they are firing very expensive systems in order to knock out very cheap Shahed drones. And the priority supposedly for US defence companies has been those products have been shifted towards Israel rather than the Gulf states. The Gulf states are low.
And these interceptors are pioneered in Ukraine. Is there some sort of irony there?
Which is another knock-on factor that you cannot weaken the defence of Ukraine.
Well, how much do we think that Donald Trump cares about the defence of Ukraine? But I notice also in the Mail talking about tech giants in the Middle East being targeted and potentially targeted. Did Donald Trump think that through, that these major companies like Amazon, Google, Microsoft are all now terrified that they are going to be targeted and attacked?
And as we said previously, the US mainland and the UK could be potential sites for attacks from terrorists who are annoyed at the involvement in this war. We're going to take a break now. When we come back, we'll take a look at more of the stories in the newspapers for you. Stay with us.
best thing about being a Sky News journalist?
I'm going to take you behind the scenes here for Election Night Live. They have gone up and up.
Being a Sky News journalist.
Ed Conway, Sky News, is anyone going to talk to us? Mortgage rates did go up very sharply during your time in office. Here it is. First off, just the scale of what we're looking at. Our data shows it's been happening. Question is, why it hasn't been stopped.
You are watching The Wrap. Time now to take a closer look at what's making the newspapers. Dorothy and Mark still with me. Let's have a look at this story in the Mail, and that is the Brits who went to live in Dubai now coming back to mega expensive rents. Dorothy, take us into this.
Well, you know, you can still get a flat and archway where I live, just to reassure them. There's something so ironic here, isn't there, about these people who left our country, partly, let's be frank, with a lot of them, so they didn't have to pay our taxes, and they lived in this place that was bliss on earth, and now they're discovering that in the world there's no safe place, especially when Donald Trump's president. So suddenly Archway looks a bit better than Dubai.
Yeah, but they obviously had gone to Dubai because it was extremely safe prior to this. You know, it's particularly Dubai, part of the UAE, where it was, you know, a playground and you could earn a lot of money without paying high taxes.
Yeah, I mean, you say bliss on earth, but as this conflict has developed, I've learned a bit more about something I was completely ignorant about before, is the degree of censorship in Dubai, and these influencers, how they have to register before they're able to do any posts. And if the government doesn't like any of their posts, they get visited by the police. And this is playing out now. If anyone in Dubai, any influencers, if they post anything on Instagram about damage to buildings from Iranian missiles and drones getting through, they're shut down. It's not the paradise that we're led to believe.
There was a Brit, I think, that was, I don't know if they were arrested or not, but because they posted a missile across the sky, and they were in trouble.
That's right.
In trouble for that. So not the bliss and paradise that perhaps it was once.
I like freedom and democracy and freedom of the press, and for all we have a pretty useless government at the moment, I would still say Archway is better than Dubai. You can say what you think.
We're doing a great advert for Archway here, aren't we? Other areas are available to live in. Let's end on this story in the Times. And the headline there is "Missing Babies Blamed on Men." Who wants to kick us off on this? Well, as we're blaming you, let's start with Dorothy.
Right. Well, I mean, you know, it says that it's because men are immature. Well, men have always been immature. Look at Donald Trump, he's 80, he's been immature all his life. But the reasons why women are not having children are very complex. Many of them are economic. But I do think we need to talk much more about fertility. I go to schools and I say to girls, your parents tell you how not to get pregnant, your teachers tell you how not to get pregnant. I'm here to tell you how to get pregnant. I'm here to tell you the actual facts of fertility. And we need to teach that to boys and girls, and we need to talk about fertility far more.
You're off the hook, Mark. We're not going to blame you because we've run out of time, sadly. Thank you very much for taking us through.
Oh, my pleasure.
Mark and Dorothy.
Thank you.
Coming up next, Max Stelman created history as Arsenal secured a crucial late win over Everton. Your sports coming up next.
The cameras are poised here, there, everywhere.
The day those present would never forget.
First question, Sky News.
Do you hate the thought of losing to him?
I hate the thought of losing to anyone.
Historic day here today.
They are pushing forward.
They dashed to the water.
Wait, what country are you
from? The UK.
Why don't you go back to your country?
Huge questions to be grappled with.
That is totally unprecedented.
Been quite some day.
We start with breaking news.
Minister, how are you?
Good morning. Good morning.
Nice to see you.
How are you feeling?
Looking forward to
into the parliamentary chamber.
Are you any further forward to making a decision?
I'm not. No, it's an important day today.
All of the claims were in line with my parliamentary duties, so I'm making that clear to you, Conor.
He was a Scot through and through.
He was a very good politician.
Alex Salmond was controversial, he was a disruptor, but above all, he was respected.
Will you resign if you lose this week?
Again, I'm not planning to, of course, lose the vote of no confidence. I'm planning to win that vote of no confidence.
His face said it all.
My intention to stand down as party leader.
This is now a storm with deadly consequences. How are they feeling?
They're a bit scared at the minute.
We've been told to evacuate.
How are you feeling?
Devastated.
Hundreds of homes were wiped out by flooding. I'm Conor Gillis, Sky's Scotland correspondent.
It was probably the darkest time in my life.
Scott is 5 years sober after a cocaine addiction left him close to death.
Scotland has a shameful record, worse than England, the worst in Europe.
So why not just say you failed? Because then you might get more respect from families who've lost loved ones.
This is where one of the UK's most prolific rapists thought he'd got away with murder.
Sky News can reveal that former sex workers had told police he was sexually violent.
My Emma.
Free wherever you get your news.
It's over, isn't it?
The Americans say he is Rossi, a fraudster.
This has been one of the most bizarre cases ever heard in a courtroom in this country.
A dangerous murderer.
Do you think you'll ever be able to forgive Andrew Ennis after this?
She said she can forgive him, but as long as he's behind bars.
By doing the right thing, it's destroyed your life.
They terrorised me. They intimidated me.
I'm so grateful.
Sky News, the full story first.
What's the best thing about being a Sky News presenter?
We've done the work and the reading, so you don't have to.
Being a Sky News presenter.
Hello and welcome. Westminster, the heart of British politics.
I'm so sorry about what happened to you.
So what on earth is going on?
It's not true.
Can I tell you what I think?
It's really unusual.
Mornings with Richard and Frost. Let's crack on. Let's get started.
What's the best thing about being a Sky News journalist?
Who's funnier?
Being a Sky News journalist. A special edition of The World with me, Yalda Hakim.
Pakistan has the right to respond.
You're like, what?
A historic day here today.
Congratulations, this is a huge moment.
But what happens now?
Time now to get all the very latest sports news with Roger.
Adding a continental touch to Arsenal's never say die style is what Wenger is promising.
Quand je suis venu, je veux dire, il y a tout ce qu'il faut pour être un grand club. Je veux dire, ils ont un public qui est fabuleux. Je veux dire, il y a des terrains où on peut s'entraîner. Il y a un entourage qui est très bien. Je veux dire, ils ont des très bonnes structures.
I think it was a big chance for Arsenal to take this player because I believe he has a great future.
He knew he had to get those kind of players that will know his philosophy and will help him implement that philosophy on the pitch at Arsenal. If you want to change the mentality at Arsenal, you don't go and sign English players.
It didn't have as big an effect as when we signed Dennis Bergkamp. That was like a massive statement. When Patrick signed, these are players that nobody's really heard of.
I was happy to have the chance to sign him. And overall, Patrick Vieira landed at Arsenal, but nobody knew that I was a manager. So at the start, he didn't play.
So actually Remy Gard came in at the same time. Remy was an accomplished player, but also I think to give Patrick comfort that he wasn't alone, he wasn't the only French guy in the dressing room. So, and I think that worked well. Remy was a little bit more of a mature player than Patrick.
Remy was great for Patrick because Remy spoke English, Remy was so smart, loved everything about London, would go to museums, go and take Patrick along with him. And Patrick was so young, all of this was new to him.
They were not speaking well English at the start and they had to adapt. Remy Gard is a very intelligent person. Patrick Vieira will know better than I do, but it was certainly important to him.
I arrived at Arsenal before Arsene, so it was really challenging to understand the language and to really understand the culture. It was really good that Rémi Garde was with me at the time because he was a really, really big help for me. It was challenging at the beginning.
He couldn't speak English, and it was up to me and my best A-level French to make sure he settled down. After a couple of weeks, I went down to the dressing room. I said, Patrick, est-ce que tu peux dire quelque chose en anglais? Can you speak something in English? He said, oui, Monsieur Dean. Yes, Mr. Dean. I said, qu'est-ce que tu peux dire? What can you say? He looked at me and he said, Tottenham are magnifique, Patrick, fantastic, Patrick. I said, qui te dit ça? Who told you that? He said, Ray Parler. So Ray was giving him English lessons.
Ray Parler is the last who could help for the language barrier.
If Ray's got into Patrick's head to try and teach him English, he was set up by us lot, you know, because we were like, yeah, go on, Ray, tell him some stuff. I remember him talking about beans on toast, and Patrick's like, what do you mean? Beans on toast? You've hit the beans on toast in the post.
I have to be honest, the English players make it really easy for me as well. They've been helping me to find a way to express myself.
Arsene Wenger took the players to a health farm this week, but not exactly for a break.
Let's take a look at the weather for you now.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean All Clear Skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors Sky News weather.
High pressure will bring warmer, more settled conditions from the middle of next week. But before then, it's colder with showers or longer spells of rain. Much of England and Wales will have a fine start with a patchy frost, especially in the east. Elsewhere, it'll be rather cloudy and windy with outbreaks of rain. Patchy rain will spread across many areas through the morning, but southeast England will stay dry despite increasing cloud. Sunshine and blustery showers will follow to Scotland, Ireland and Northern Ireland, with hail and hill snow possible.
All Clear Travel Insurance proudly sponsors Sky News weather.
Well, that was the wrap. Thank you so much for watching. All the top stories coming up right here on Sky News for you next.
The best thing about being a Sky News journalist?
They call him the king of the jungle.
Being a Sky News journalist.
Yusra Al-Baghir has this report.
And this is what's left of it.
As a woman of colour, how did the Harris campaign speak to you?
People risk their lives to speak to us for this report.
Mr. Zuma, Sky News.
We're trying to see as much as we can.
The best thing about being a Sky News journalist? I'm going to take you behind the scenes here for Election Night Live. They have gone up and up. Being a Sky News journalist. Ed Conway, Sky News, is anyone going to talk to us? Mortgage rates did go up very sharply during your time in office. Here it is. First off, just the scale of what we're looking at. Our data shows it's been happening. Question is, why it hasn't been stopped.